Haiti assassination allegedly involved Americans and retired members of Colombian military, officials say. Port-au-Prince, Haiti, CNN. The armed group who assassinated Haiti's president, Jovenel Moise, were professional killers, consisting of more than 24 people, including 2 American citizens and retired members of the Colombian military, authorities have said. But as more details begin to emerge of the people who killed Moise early Wednesday morning, little is known about the suspected masterminds and their motivation for the attack. Police have so far detained 17 suspects in connection to the fatal shooting, and a mass, countrywide manhunt is underway for at least 8 additional suspects. Haitian officials have given conflicting accounts and numbers for those killed following the assassination attack. Citing figures from Haitian police, the office of acting Prime Minister Claude Joseph told CNN that 3 suspects were killed in a shootout with authorities. As the pursuit of those responsible intensifies, details have emerged relating to the arrest of 11 armed men in the grounds of the Taiwan embassy in the capital Port-au-Prince on Thursday. Taiwan's foreign ministry spokesperson Joanne Oh told CNN the embassy called local police after security guards reported a group of armed suspects entering embassy grounds. She said 11 suspects, described in a separate foreign ministry statement as mercenaries, were arrested at 4 p.m. inside the embassy without resistance, and only a few doors and windows were damaged. The Taiwanese Foreign Ministry did not give information about the nationalities of those taken into custody, and it is not yet clear if the 11 suspects are among the 17 people detained by police. With tension high in the capital, crowds of people took to the streets Thursday night, burning cars and demanding justice. For weeks, Port-au-Prince has been reeling from violence which has claimed the lives of many citizens. Moise's death has left a power vacuum and deepened the turmoil from the violence, a growing humanitarian crisis, and a worsening COVID-19 epidemic. Much of the public anger has so far centered on the foreign nationals arrested in connection to the shooting. Late Thursday, Elections Minister Matthias Pierre told CNN 2 American citizens were among the 17 people arrested. Pierre identified the men as James Salages and Joseph Vincent, both naturalized citizens from Haiti. Separately, on Thursday, Police Chief Charles said 15 of those detained were Colombian nationals. He paraded some of the suspects at a press conference, alongside an array of military-style weaponry. Haiti's police chief described the men presented at the press conference as attackers that have been apprehended. In a statement, Colombia's defense ministry said at least 6 of the suspected attackers were retired members of the Colombian Army, and Interpol had requested further information from the Colombian government and the national police. Colombian National Police Chief General Jorge Vargas added that 2 alleged attackers, killed in an operation by the Haiti police, were retired officers of the Colombian Army. And at least 4 alleged attackers arrested by the Haiti police were retired soldiers. Speaking to reporters Thursday, U.S. State Department spokesperson Ned Price described the situation in Haiti as evolving rapidly, and said the U.S. was preparing to send investigative assistance to the Caribbean country, in response to a request from Haiti's government. Magnitude 6.0 quake strikes along California-Nevada border. San Francisco. An earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 6.0 rattled the California-Nevada border Thursday afternoon, with people reporting feeling the shaking hundreds of miles away, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. There were no immediate reports of serious damage or injuries. The earthquake struck at 3:49 p.m. in a region about 250 miles, 402 kilometers, east of San Francisco and south of Lake Tahoe. Its epicenter was 4 miles, 6.5 kilometers, west-southwest of Walker. a California town of fewer than 900 residents. It was followed by dozens of aftershocks, with at least a half dozen of magnitude 4.0 or greater, the USGS said. The ground was shaking pretty bad, and then everything started falling, said Carolina Estrada, manager at the Walker Coffee Company. Syrup bottles broke. Dishes fell to the ground and the roof of the shop caved in a bit. The shaking lasted 30 seconds or more, she said. We ran out of the building, Estrada said. But the shaking continued, and boulders the size of cars fell onto nearby US 395, she said. Cars were struck by rocks, but nobody was injured, the California Highway Patrol reported. At one point, rockslides closed about 40 miles, 64 kilometers, of the interstate, a major route through the northern Sierra Nevada, authorities said. Portions of the interstate were later reopened. But crews remained at the scene in case of aftershocks, according to the California Department of Transportation. In Nevada, Reno City Hall was evacuated, Mayor Hillary Sheev told the Reno Gazette-Journal. It shook pretty good, Sheev said. Communities all around Lake Tahoe and as far south as Fresno, California, felt the earthquake, which had a depth of 6 miles, 9.8 kilometers. It also was felt as far away as Las Vegas. The epicenter was near the Antelope Valley Fault. The earthquake was the largest one recorded since a magnitude 6.1 earthquake struck the area in 1994. The quake was a classic normal faulting earthquake for Eastern California, and aftershocks were common in the region, seismologist Lucy Jones tweeted. People in the area should expect aftershocks for days following an earthquake of this size, said Jason Ballman with the Southern California Earthquake Center at the University of Southern California. Reports of damage or injury might not be available for days because a lot of the shaking was felt in remote areas, Ballman cautioned. Preliminary reports had indicated 2 earthquakes striking 25 seconds but 100 miles, 161 kilometers, apart. But the U.S. Geological Survey reviewed the shaking and removed the report of a magnitude 4.8 quake in Farmington, about 5 miles, 8 kilometers, southeast of Stockton. The uncertainty was caused by the remote location, which had fewer seismic instruments, said Austin Elliott, a USGS geologist. The system underestimated the original magnitude of that event and estimated a location that was slightly off from the true location, he said. As the seismic waves moved across the state, other stations misinterpreted them as a separate quake because they arrived at an unexpected time, Elliott said. Elliott also said earthquakes commonly happen along this fault. He cited a magnitude 5.8 earthquake that rattled the eastern Sierra town of Lone Pine last month and sent boulders crashing down Mount Whitney. Olga R. Rodriguez and Daisy Nguyen in San Francisco, Christopher Weber in Los Angeles and Michelle Price in Las Vegas contributed to this report. Taliban capture key Afghanistan-Iran border crossing. The Taliban have captured a major border crossing between Afghanistan and Iran, according to Afghan officials. Video footage appeared to show Taliban forces taking down the Afghan flag from the roof of the border customs office. The Islam Kala crossing is one of the biggest trade gateways into Iran, generating an estimated $20 million monthly revenue for the government. The Taliban are rapidly retaking land across Afghanistan as the U.S.-led mission removes the last of its troops. The Americans earlier this week quietly abandoned Bagram Airfield, a sprawling base that was the center of U.S. operations in Afghanistan and once held tens of thousands of troops. The Taliban are thought to now control more than a third of the country's 400 districts, including an arc of territory from the Iranian border in the west to the frontier with China on the other side of the country. The Afghan government on Friday acknowledged the loss of the Islam Kala border crossing, in Herat province. All Afghan security forces including the border units are present in the area, and efforts are underway to recapture the site, Interior Ministry spokesman Tarek Arian told the AFP news agency. Zabihullah Mujahid, a spokesman for the Taliban, said the crossing was under our full control. Reports said Taliban fighters had seized 5 districts in Herat without a fight. Earlier this week, more than 1,000 members of the Afghan security forces fled to Tajikistan as the Taliban advanced around them. Russia on Friday said the Taliban had taken control of about 2/3 of the Afghan-Tajik border in a swift advance. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said Moscow was urging all sides in Afghanistan to show restraint. News of the capture of the border crossing came hours after U.S. President Joe Biden defended his administration's decision to withdraw from Afghanistan after 20 years of war. "I will not send another generation of Americans to war in Afghanistan with no reasonable expectation of achieving a different outcome," Mr. Biden said. He admitted it was highly unlikely the Afghan government would be able to control the entire country. According to an assessment distributed to officials last month and reported by U.S. media, some U.S. intelligence analysts fear the Taliban could seize control of the country within 6 months. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani has insisted that Afghan security forces are capable of keeping the Taliban at bay, and Afghan forces appear to have retaken lost ground in some areas. According to officials, troops on Wednesday recaptured government buildings in the western city of Kala-e-Na, the first major provincial capital entered by the Taliban in their latest offensive. U.S. operations in Afghanistan will officially end on 31 August, but the vast majority of foreign troops have already left. Peace talks between the government and the Taliban continue, but the talks have regularly stalled and failed to progress significantly. Jovenel Moise. Foreign hit squad killed Haiti's president, police say. A hit squad made up of 28 foreign nationals assassinated Haiti's president Jovenel Moise earlier this week, police say. 26 were Colombians and 2 were Americans of Haitian origin, Police Chief Léon Charles told reporters. 8 of the suspects are still on the run, while 17, including the 2 Americans, have been arrested. The remaining suspects were shot dead during gun battles with the police in the capital Port-au-Prince. A group of gunmen burst into the president's private residence in an affluent area of the city in the early hours of Wednesday. Mr. Moise's wife, Martine, was injured in the attack and has been flown to Florida for treatment where she is said to be in a stable condition. It is not yet clear who planned the attack or what motivated it. Haiti's interim Prime Minister Claude Joseph, however, told the BBC that the 53-year-old president may have been targeted because he was fighting oligarchs in the country. On Thursday, police presented some of the suspects to the media along with weapons, passports and other evidence. Quote, "We will strengthen our investigation and search techniques to intercept the other 8 mercenaries," Mr. Charles said. It was a full, well-equipped commando, with more than 6 cars and a lot of equipment, Haiti's elections minister Mathias Pierre said. Colombia's government later said at least 6 members of the hit squad appeared to be retired members of its military. The country is assisting with Haiti's investigation efforts. The U.S. State Department, meanwhile, said it could not confirm if any of its citizens had been held. Investigators are still searching for the masterminds of the killing, which has triggered some civil unrest in what is the poorest nation in the Americas. An angry crowd gathered on Thursday to watch the police operation in the capital. Some cars were torched, and people gathered outside a police station where the suspects were being detained. A 15-day state of emergency remains in force across the country. Who is in control of the country? The assassination has prompted confusion over who is in charge of Haiti. The Constitution says the President of the Supreme Court should take over, but he recently died of COVID-19. After that, amendments suggest the Prime Minister should lead. Ariel Henry had been named this week as the new PM, but he has not yet been sworn in. He insists he should be in charge. Mr. Joseph, the interim Prime Minister, told the BBC he was puzzled by Mr. Henry's statement, adding, "We need to leave those things behind and put Haiti forward." The UN has said Mr. Joseph should remain in charge until elections are held later this year. He has said he will not stand for the presidency. "I'm not here to stay too long. We need to hold elections. I do not have a personal agenda," he said.